追いつけない追いつきたいのに突然物語君にさわからないよさ
This is your host, Yokai, and just want to apologize for the lack of videos these last few weeks. This video is actually being recorded not too long after I had uploaded the last video. I was actually in the process of making this. Unfortunately, I had some health issues, got sick pretty bad, and I'm just trying to recover from it, and I finally started to feel better enough so I could actually basically edit again. And editing, of course, does take some time. You can spend, you know, a few minutes on, some simple edits, and then that's it. And then sometimes you can spend hours on simple edits because you have to redo the whole video or something along those lines. So yeah, it just takes a while. So you add that with the fact that, I've been sick, and then, about a month ago, I got a job where about half the week I end up going to a different location to basically live at for about like 4 days. And then I do the other half of the week here. So I only have like 4.5 days or so to edit. And everything else that I have to do while I'm here, it just takes a lot of time. So I just want to let you guys know that, I apologize for taking so long, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Yokai, your host, and today we're going to be going over the Anime for Noobs number 3, or episode 3, whatever you want to call it. And today I figured I'd go for the Shoujo. Now this is going to be a relatively shorter video, I believe, from the other two, because I kind of went over it already in my other two videos because I kept popping up. But I figured I'd go ahead and break it down for everyone in its own video. So technically all Shoujo means is that it's a variant of a word that means woman or girl in Japanese. It's just the romanized version of it, of course, for English readers to be able to read it. However, at the end of the day, what does it technically mean? Well, it means girl entertainment, or entertainment for girls, or something along those lines. So basically, what it is, it's a variant of the shonen genre, which means entertainment for boys, which I went over in my first video, I do believe. And that's basically what it is. It's the same thing, it's just for girls. Now, is shoujo so similar to shonen to where it has a lot of the same type of things that are in it? Well, yes and no. For example, because it's not it's not comprised of one particular type of genre like shonen isn't. It can be anything. You can have a one that's horror based, or you can have one that's more based around action or whatever. But usually, majority of the time, these are usually romance anime. Not always, of course, and even if they are romance anime, they may still have action in them, such as AnyAsha. It's one of the biggest shoujo animes from the early 2000s. It was huge. So this is definitely a part of the genre. Now, it mostly targets teenage girls, just like shonen mostly targets teenage boys. But the majority of the age range, again, is about the same. It's about 10 to 20, is the target demographic for shoujo. Now, technically shoujo has been around for a long time. It started in like 1903 with the magazines. Yes, magazines is where it started the term shoujo. And in the 50s and 60s, they started making shoujo anime, which is totally fine. And sometimes it can be amazing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here and jump into the top 10. But I will go ahead and give you a few things that you need to be aware of. Because these are mostly for girls, as a guy, you may find some more interesting than others. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to completely avoid shoujos because, believe it or not, some of my favorite anime are shoujos. Now, some of my least favorite anime are also shoujos. So I'll go ahead and tell you that sometimes they can be really good or they can also be really bad in the typical schmaltzy type of stuff that you expect for something that's more romance. But it doesn't have to be that way. Some of these shows can be very good and make it really interesting and maybe even a little awkward depending on what the show's about. But for the most part, they are usually based around romance. Not always, sometimes it's just friendships, but for the most part, it's usually a romantic uh, focus when it comes to the story and the characters. Now, of course, you may also run across a few of these that will have nudity and will have maybe even some gore in them, depending on what the show is about. But for the most part, those aren't usually things that you have to worry about. Now, if you're someone who is interested in this, but is also particular about the type of romances that you're interested in, keep in mind that sometimes these shows can fall into the Yuri category, which means girl love, which means girl on girl action, which means lesbians. So if you're not too keen on that type of relationship, then be more careful with what you select when it comes to shoujos. Now, if you don't care, like I don't, then it doesn't really matter and you won't be affected by it. Also, keep in mind that some of these shows might target a little bit younger of an audience, which means that sometimes it's not about romance, but about friendship. And this can be a little different. These are usually little kids shows, and sometimes they are not considered shoujo, but sometimes they are. And also, shoujo anime can be mixed in with lots of other types of shows, like, for example, superheroes or magical girls are a really big one that could be a part of shoujo. Usually, if it's targeting teenagers, you don't have the magical girl genre mixed in, but sometimes you do. But for the most part, it's usually more of a drama or a romantic comedy or something along those lines. So if that's something that you're interested in, just know that that's basically what it is. Now that you kind of get a small idea of what to expect from these shows, I'm going to give you a list of my top 10 that I would suggest you check out. So here we go. Number 10. Number 10 is going to be one of my personal favorites just because it's a really good one. And this is going to be Fruits Basket. Now, I know it's on the gateway anime because it was a really big gateway anime for a lot of people back when it first came out. However, I have to put it here because it's just one of my favorites. And if you're interested, you can watch the original from 2006, I believe. I keep saying it was '01 for some reason, but it's actually '06. But it's actually a really good show. But the original, unfortunately, was made in a time where the manga and the anime were being created kind of at the same time. And when that kind of stuff happens, you run into basically what's called the only in anime kind of stuff, or they'll like stop and try and give the writer time to finish more volumes, which sounds nice, but the problem is that when they do that, sometimes that will end up basically canceling the show, and that's basically what happened. So they made a remake of it in 2019 that's got multiple seasons, and it's actually really, really good. It goes over everything the original did, so hopefully you can enjoy it. So at number 9, we're going to go with My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. I know it also is a part of other genres as well. And also it's a little different because the main character is actually a guy, which when it comes to shoujo is pretty rare. Usually with shoujo anime, the main character is a girl, and all the other like supporting characters and side characters can be both girls and guys. But typically the main character is a girl. So even though there are a few shoujos that have a male lead character, it's pretty rare. Um, but the main supporting characters of this series are all girls, and it's really well done. There's like a weird like love like triangle or like square or something with a dude who typically would be like girls would flee from him because he's not the super most attractive guy. He looks kind of creepy. He's standoffish. He's kind of weird. Um, but over time, these girls have kind of grew to love him, and it's really cute. And you see how like jealous they get. And I think they're up to season 3, or season 3 is coming out soon. And I have to get it. Like I even own the first season. I need to get the second season, but it's really good. Trust me, it's amazing. The second season, by the way, has some beautiful animation. It's just gorgeous. And it's funny and it's dramatic and it's like, holy shit, this is like epic level type stuff. It's really good. It's definitely one of the ones I recommend wholeheartedly. I would have put it higher up on the list, but I feel like some of the other ones are probably better at showing you what a shoujo anime actually is because it, has female main character and this doesn't. So that's why I put it so low on the list. But it is technically a shoujo because it targets girls mainly, and it also is a romance anime. So at number 8, we're going to go with Monthly Girl Nuzaki-kun. This particular show is something I haven't actually seen all the way through. I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes, but I did enjoy it. It was really funny and also cute. The show is basically a girl who is kind of like in love with her manga writer, and she finds out that the manga writer is actually a guy that goes to her school, and she kind of starts to try and like hang around him and basically does advances towards him, but he's kind of oblivious to her, and it's kind of funny. But overall, it's a standard cute shoujo anime. So at number 7, I'm gonna have to go with a hardcore classic here. This is gonna be AnyAsha. Now I know for a lot of people necessarily care for the show. There are some issues with it, especially with the fact that they like scream their names out constantly, and it's like it gets worse as the show goes on. It's like happens way more often, and it's like okay, they heard you. Stop screaming their name. But other than that, yes, that happens. But for the most part, the show is actually really good, and it actually is kind of a longer show. It kind of follows the shonen style a little bit more because technically our main character is not Inuyasha. It's actually Kagome. She's not only the love interest, obviously, but she's technically the main character. She's the first character of the show you actually, well, not really, but she's the first one that we see that is like, see constantly, all the time, almost, I think, like every episode. She's involved in like the main plot. So obviously, she's the main character. Um, it's obviously an older anime. It came out in the early 2000s, so like it's not necessarily the best looking, especially in certain scenes, but other times it looks really good. So, animation wise, it's kind of all over the place. The story is interesting. It's a little bit more shonen based, it's a lot more action oriented. But like I said, shoujos can still be action oriented, and this is one of those examples. Um, Overall, the show is interesting. The characters are interesting. The story is really interesting. Animation is really good. There are some issues here and there. Some episodes aren't as important. Some episodes are kind of like filler. And because of that, there's like 167 episodes, I believe, or 161. And the problem is that the show itself does end on a cliffhanger, but there is sequels. You have 4 movies. You have a small sub-series called Inuyasha Final Act, which basically ends the plot of the main show. Um, but it's a little bit newer. It came out in '08, so it basically like finishes out the plot, and it's pretty good. Then there's the sequel that came out recently, like 2019 or something like that, that actually has to do with the kids of the main characters from the first show. I haven't seen that one, but I do want to check it out. But for the most part, this is a really good one. It's something I wholeheartedly recommend, and even though it has some issues, it's still worth watching. And number six, we're going to throw in Say I Love You. Say I Love You is a little newer, but it's not overly new. I think it's like from 2010 or something. Same with Monthly Girl Nozaki-kun. It's also from the 2010s. But regardless, um, this show I actually have seen, and it is really good. It's a little bit more serious when it comes to like the more romantic stuff. It's not as comedic. There is some comedy, but for the most part, it's a little bit more dramatic and more serious. But the animation is really nice, and overall, it's a pretty popular one from back then, like 2015 or whenever it came out. Um, it's a really good one, and honestly, I would definitely suggest this one out of the other ones previous. So at number five, we're going to get into one of my personal favorite shoujo anime, which is Ouran High School Host Club. This particular series is actually really good, but it came out in 2006, which means that it also suffered from the we're making the anime as the same time as the manga type deal, so there's not as much of the show as there could be. And considering how long the manga has gone on, the show could be a lot longer, but sadly it's not. But it's really funny. It's got drama, it's got humor, it's got pretty interesting animation, and it even has some really interesting story bits, like the fact that it takes place in a host club, which is kind of like a gentleman's club, but at a high school level. It's very Japanese. It's really good. You just have to watch it. Um, Definitely one of the ones I really heavily recommend. So, at number four, we're actually going to go with My Love Story. Now, I know it sounds very similar to the other title, but trust me, it's not. This show is, uh, I think, a little newer, actually, like 2017 or 16 is when it came out. So it's not as old as Say I Love You. But My Love Story is really cute. It actually has some really nice animation. It's got some funny moments, some heavily dramatic moments, and um, it's also kind of more like it's got like half of a friendship style story with the other half being a romantic style. Um, Pretty cool mixture, honestly, and I really dig it. Um, and the main plot is basically um, big big dude. Like he's like huge. Okay, and in Japan, that's unfortunately something that's considered kind of unattractive to a lot of people. If you're like really tall or like really super muscular, it's not something that they tend to care for, which is one of the reasons why a lot of foreigners aren't usually romantically involved with Japanese people, because they don't typically find it too attractive, like how tall you are. Like they like tall, sure, but they don't want you to be like behemoth, And even though we feel kind of normal that way, you have to keep in mind that in general, Japanese people tend to be a little bit shorter. So, because of this, if you are a Japanese person that is tall, you tend to kind of get the bad end of the stick when it comes to relationships and stuff like that. And that's kind of what this show is about. Like, it's about that and how he ended up meeting this girl, and she kind of fell in love with him like immediately. It's really cute. Animation's pretty good, and overall, it's just funny. Um, but it's really enjoyable, and I definitely recommend it to people. Um, there's not much I can really say other than that. You just have to check it out. Kami-sama Hajime Mashite is at number three. I wasn't originally going to put Sailor Moon here because it is a very classic shoujo, but I think it's going to be relegated to an honorable mention because I did put it in the gateway one, and I don't want too many repeat recommendations. So this show, I actually have seen quite a bit of it. I don't think I've seen all of it, but it actually is pretty good. It's another shoujo anime, of course. It's about this girl. starts kind of falling for this guy who's kind of an ass, but he's an ass because he's a fox demon or a yokai. And yeah, he basically acts like he doesn't like her or love her, but he does. And it's really cute. And overall, it's definitely a really good one to check out. As much as I would recommend it, I also would say that yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit of a you have to have a little bit of a thick skin when it comes to some scenes because they are kind of a dick to each other. So while some of that is really funny, if you're like, wow, I can't believe you said that to the person you love, you might not like the show. But for the most part, it is really good. It is funny and it's cute. Although I will say that the animation is um, definitely budgeted and it's not as good as some of the other shows. But it's not awful. It just isn't great. Number two, we have Shoujo Chara. This is a show that's obviously meant for younger audiences. Not too much younger, but definitely probably around fifth grade or so, and maybe a little older. So it's not overly kiddified, but it is a little bit more for younger audiences. It's cute though, and it's basically a magical girl anime, even though it does have a little bit of like romance and comedy and some drama and stuff. It's not overly dark or anything. It is just a cute show. But it may not be for everybody, but I put it on here because if I'm not going to put Sailor Moon, which is a magical girl anime, I need to put some kind of magical girl anime. And I don't want to go for something that's a little bit more typical, like Madoka Magica or something, because it's not necessarily um, the best example of a magical girl shoujo anime. This is a little bit better than that when it comes to representation of like the genre as a whole, which is why I put it on here. Honorable mentions. Right here, real quick, we're just going to do a quick montage of some pictures and stuff. And these are going to be shows that were I wanted to put on the list, but for one reason or another, I didn't put it on the recommendations. So it's just a quick little honorable mentions, and I hope you enjoy. Number one, personally, one of my absolute favorites. It's definitely like number one for me personally, or like number two, and it like constantly shifts all the time or something. Like it's really hard for me to say which one's my absolute favorite, but this one is definitely close, and it's Maid Sama. If it's um great, it's just great. Like I can't really explain it. It's cute. It's funny. The romance kind of it feels really natural, and the animation is really good. Even though sometimes it goes to like a more cutesy, like stylized, like chibi style at moments. It's just funny. It's a blast. The whole time it's a blast. Sadly, the show ends on kind of like a will they won't they kind of thing, which kind of sucks. You hope that they actually do get together, and there is one OVA that came out later that kind of gets a little bit more action for you. You get a little bit more of a like kind of like another episode, but honestly, that's all it feels like. It just feels like another episode that they released after the show came out, which kind of sucks because it doesn't go into like, hey, they're together now. It doesn't do that, which is a big issue with a lot of shoujos. You don't necessarily see the characters get together, and if you do, they don't always like show what happens to them later kind of thing. Kind of sucks, but unfortunately, it's just part of the genre. Well, but this has been Yokai. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of Anime for Noobs, Shoujo Anime. Hopefully you've learned something about it and you will try it out, even if you're a guy. And if you um, pick a recommendation of one of my lists, that's great. But if you don't, you can always choose other shows. There's plenty of shoujo animes to choose from. They range from all over the place. Some that are a little bit more darker, some are a little bit more lighthearted, and everything in between. So hopefully you will enjoy. And this is Yokai, and I'm signing out. Have a good one. Hopefully you will like the video, sub, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and share the video. All that really helps, and I'm trying to get to 30 subs by the end of the year, and I only have 22 now. I appreciate those 2 new subs for joining the crew, and see you guys next video.